Kia ora te whānau. Firstly, Happy New Year. I hope you've had a good break and spent some choice time with your loved ones. While a lot of us are thinking about resolutions or goals or things that we want to be or do differently in the new year, I just wanted to drop a quick kōrero about some thoughts I've been having as part of Shoebox Christmas. So kind of as part of the project, I get to see all of this awesome empathy and understanding that adults are giving to the tamariki or the children in the project, right, and the families. And I think that part of that is because we understand as grown-ups that some of these children are influenced by and shaped by circumstances that can be quite harmful if left unchecked. So we see these young boys who are wide-eyed, full of wonder, and rosy cheeks and all of that cute stuff, going home sometimes to households that can't make ends meet, or households that are sometimes violent, or have drugs there, have gangs around them, and we understand that for that boy, those are challenges that we can't necessarily fix, but we can give a positive balance to through these gifts, and that's part of the kaupapa and part of why we do that. But what I kind of see happening as well is when that boy then grows up, or the grown-up equivalent of that boy, and he becomes a little less cute, and his eyes become a little harder, and that rosy cheek is now has got a tattoo on it, maybe a bulldog tattoo or a fist tattoo, or that man has made decisions which realistically it was going to be pretty hard for him to not make as a growing up, or as a boy growing up. Suddenly we lose that empathy and that understanding of the trauma and the challenges that he grew up through. We say things like lock him up and throw away the key when he makes those decisions. Now that he's the same age as us, suddenly he should have been able to make the same decisions we made, even though we arrived here with an entirely different set of learnings that he didn't have, and he was struggling to correct a bunch of lifetime learning that would have been really hard to do. We went to uni, we got a job, why couldn't he? And that's quite interesting and kind of quite disappointing to see happening so often, how quickly we lose that empathy and that understanding of how shaped he has been by his situation. My daughter Huhana loves reading, and she loves making books. That's because me and my wife, her mother, love reading, and we love writing, and so did my mum and dad, and so on and so forth. It goes back. We've all been shaped by what came before us. We understand that when we see the child being shaped, but we forget that when we see the adult version of that shaping having taken place. I'm not saying that we can't steer the waka when we're adults, can't steer the boat and shift from where we've landed. But you've got to remember, some of us arrived through calm seas on a launch, right, with maps. Others had to paddle through some pretty stormy water and in a leaky boat with nothing to bail out. So when you arrive, you're thinking a little bit differently, and it's a little bit harder to make some of those same decisions. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you're thinking about what you're going to do differently this year, imagine if we gave that same empathy, or at least a little bit of it, that same understanding to the adults, as we seem to do so willingly for the children. I'm not saying that we can all jump in there and do the healing, but at least if we acknowledge some of what those adults have been through before judging them, they might be a little bit more likely to make positive decisions themselves later on. Acknowledge a little bit of what they've been through before judging them. We were all kids once, and we seem to forget that understanding and that love and that empathy that we have for those same situations once those children become adults. And I think that's a little bit sad. So yeah, think about that when you're thinking about what you're going to do differently this year. Kia ora.